None. Zero. Nada. I don't even think that will make the collection, I'll be honest. That piece. It was what I think is an early draft of what I hope is the start of the novel. Which is a whole different conversation. We could talk about it or not, but that was in a magazine called Witness. They had liked the story that ended up in Gulf Coast, but because they didn't talk to me for 9 months, I thought, well, they've forgotten about it. Another great little literary journal, but they're run by editors who also happen to be in the MFA program, or they actually have a PhD in creative writing at UNLV, and that's who runs Witness. At any rate, so yeah, they'd taken forever to get back to me. I thought that it was lost somewhere. Like I said, it slid off of the file cabinet and it straight into like the wastebasket and had been lost. But as soon as I withdrew the story there, formally, and said, oh, this is getting published elsewhere, they were like, I can't believe it, we love that story, do you have anything else? I sent them the opening of the novel thinking, well, if they print this, then it'll be a great argument down the road with an editor, or, an agent about the strength of the novel. You should take it because portions have been published here. But, it was such an earlier draft. The book has changed dramatically since then that I don't think I would want to put it. And I think it would be completely separate from the work that I've done for the collection. So when it got a nod and Best American that year, I was really profoundly confused and surprised. I was like, that good? And we're just beginning to kind of get into the season where that's going to be a thing where I start well, I wonder if any of the work that I have this year will get, but you have no control over that. You don't know what, there's a lot of wonderful work in every publication. I'll throw this out there, is I got nominated by New England Review for Havoc for a pushcart. So I think there are 3 big ones in terms of short stories out there. It's you can get a pushcart. You can get nominated for Best American. Well, you get a notice by Best American, or there are the O. Henrys. And, that's really kind of up there, the pinnacles of having a short story recognized as one of those 3. Out of all the work that was in the New England Review last year, they can pick 6 things, poetry, essay, short stories, that the magazine then submits for consideration as part of one of these things, the pushcart. And they picked my story, which is great. I'm really happy about that. I have no idea where that's going to fall within the order of things, because you've got to figure how many publications are there out there. By the time I think it's every year they have to go through 3,000 things in order to pick the 20 that end in the pushcart or whatever it is. So it's just something that I have no idea how it works or why things end up getting noted sometimes. We'll see. And then it's a little bit more opaque even with Best American, because you have an editor. This year, I believe it's going to be Roxane Gay. I wouldn't have thought that Juno Diaz would have picked mine as one of the hundreds of notable stories in the back. But he did. So I'm not writing off Roxane Gay or the possibility that she'll do the same thing with either of the stories that I have out this year. But, if she doesn't, people read differently. People place weight on different things differently. And all you could do is just write your stories, and I will be happy if a couple people read that and say man, that was, there was another teacher, or there was a parent at my kid's school who said I read your story twice. It was really good. And hey, like, I'll take that. That's great. That feels just as good to me as, like, hey, you're like a runner, you've got a notable in the back of whatever.